Bullied as a child through to a life of football hooliganism, robbery, alcoholism and drug addiction. Graham Seed now runs Sowing Seed Ministries, where he hopes to help prisoners and ex-offenders find faith.
Straight away I had a criminal record, I was introduced to the police for shoplifting and breaking into schools and youth clubs and getting arrested in my house, and then someone died when I was 15 and the police came and arrested me and accused me of his murder. And 16-year-old I ended up going to prison for breaking into schools and youth clubs, and I had my first taste of jail. I got out of the Medmsey Detention Centre when I was 16, and I was sick of being a skinhead really, and quite bored of what we were doing, and we were thinking there must be something else, going on. And it was kind of a strange thing happened. We were in a pub one night on a Saturday night, and these lads came in, quite a few of them. They'd already been fighting at the train station. And the pub was right next to the train station. It's been knocked down now, and the pub. And these lads came in with tracksuits on and caps, and they started talking about where they'd been and what they'd been doing. They seemed like they were dead happy, They were like buzzing type of thing, And they came and sat with us and knew us. We knew them from the town. I knew loads of them from the estates and that, And anyway, they came and sat with us and they were talking to us and they were telling us about the bit of a football match. And the bit of a bonus was watching the match, but the biggest thing they went for was to fight with these other firms. And we started asking them what gangs they were, and they were telling us about the Intercity firm and Chelsea Headhunters and all the other firms and stuff like that. And my friend said my eyes were like saucers, because they were telling us how many people there was, like hundreds of people there and hundreds of people at these matches and stuff like that. And I just felt that this was an exciting life, So I went to my first football match, got involved with it. I was only there 4 months. I ended up in Barcelona myself. Got out of Barcelona, went straight back to the football scene. If you come out of prison and you go back to that situation, it's not easy to not get into trouble, It's not easy to go the way they're going. And but I've had a number of injuries, First one, as I said, the cut across my eye. I've been hit over the head with like a sword. I had a bit of my chin took away. I've had a bottle in both eyes. I've had my little finger chopped off. I've had my arm ripped open. I've been stabbed in the arm and chest, 4 times. I've got no front teeth. And I've had both my arms pulled out the sockets. So there's not only the injuries and the prison sentences, but I was kind of blinded by the so-called adrenaline and so-called hype that went with it. So I was with them on and off about a decade, but in and out of prison. And when I left the football scene, I was actually in jail. When I was 1989, I'd gone back to prison, and I was now really determined that I was never going to go back to jail again. I really was determined this time. I know I'd said it before, but I was so sick of this lifestyle. So what I did is I got a job as a doorman. I was a big man, big, strong, athletic looking man, So getting a job on the door was no issue. And so I worked over the Christmas of 1990 and New Year's Eve of 1990 to 1991. A fight broke out in the pub and I hit an undercover policeman. And I was arrested, bailed, came back to Middlesbrough, went back to court and was sentenced to 2 years. I went to a jail called Armley in Leeds and I spent 13 months in there, but to be honest, that jail sentence was, must have had a major breakdown, a mini breakdown, because I wouldn't come out my cell. I didn't want to know anything, just not wanting to live really, And but when I got out, there was the dark days were coming, even worse than that really. I tried to fit in again, as I said, when I come back to Middlesbrough. I was trying my hardest for the, say, 6 months to try and get back to the life I used to have, you know, try and be happy and try and meet people who I knew, and people had settled down, pubs' names had changed, landlords had changed, and it wasn't the same. And I often say I was deceived, because I must have thought I could have been 15 again, but I was 29-year-old, well, just nearly 29, and I found a bench in the town centre in Middlesbrough, on a road called Grange Road. It was a red light district where the girls stood on a night, and they basically stood there to get drug money, you know, and the boyfriends were pimping for them, and I sat amongst them all and drinking and listening to music on the street and just trying to drown this life out, you know. I cut my wrists, my own wrists, you know, the scars are there, look, I don't know if you can see them. I cut my own wrists, and the police found me at 3 o'clock in the morning in a pool of blood, because I did it when no one was around. I meant business, you know. I woke up in hospital, Sam, I thought out of hospital, went back to the bench and drank again, and the drink wasn't enough to get rid of these thoughts, and so I started taking heroin. Firstly I started, we call it tooting heroin, where it's like chasing a dragon basically on a piece of foil, and I was tooting heroin, and I was injecting it now and again, and drinking extreme amounts of drink, not caring, didn't eat much. And by 1996 March, I was a tramp. 1995 Christmas Day was probably the lowest day I've ever had in my life so far. I woke up on the floor outside the post office. I knew it was Christmas Day. I'd had a good score the night before, meaning I'd been begging because it was Christmas Eve. I must have had 200 or 300 quid in my pockets, because I knew lots of people in Middlesbrough. Lots of people would give me pound coins and £2 coins and the odd fiver, and got the odd tenner. But I couldn't walk. I was ill, and there was no shops open. So I crawled on my hands and knees through our town centre, which to the shop was about maybe a quarter of a mile away. And I crawled on my hands and knees to the only Asian shop I knew that I'd be open over the border. And when I got to the shop, I got myself a 2 litre bottle of White Lightning and a bottle of vodka and some orange. And I sat outside drinking that. But as I sat there, I watched kids on the bikes, you know. I feel emotional now talking about it, but I was reminiscing about when I was a little boy, you know, and where it all began. And to be honest, Harvey, I just wanted to die there and then. That year I went into a coma. I was in a coma for 6 days, and my mother was called to the hospital. My stepdad went to the hospital on the 6th day, and they were invited into the consultant's room, and he gave my mum the forms to sign to turn the machine off, the ventilator machine that was keeping me alive. And my mum said she didn't know what to do. She was confused, because she'd seen me in the bed and seen how ill I was, but didn't really know what to do. And my mum will tell you that some people said, look, you're doing him a favour by turning the machine off. You know, he's living in hell on earth. You know, he's got no hope, he's an addict, and you're doing him a favour, turn it off. Some said he's a waste of space, and yet quite a lot of people came, including my best friend Tony, and his wife Hayley had said, look, you've got to fight for him, you've got to keep fighting in the wards, you've got to keep fighting for him. And my mum said to the consultant, I don't know what to do, so we wait a couple of more hours, and there's some Christian men, Peter and Aidan, Nicky came, who tried to tell me on the street about Jesus, you know, and they came to the hospital, prayed for me, and I woke up out of this coma that they said I was dead. And right from the beginning, I knew there was something different about me. Sowing Seeds Ministries, our aim is to see people find that word hope, and we go into prison or a church and share my story to let people come in and see that Christians haven't got two heads, and Christians do care, you know what I mean? And Because the first thing you think of about church, I don't know about you, but for me, was, oh, God's just a man with a stick who wants to control you, you know, and, you know, they know naught about you and all that, you know. So I've go to places and bring that element where we do know what you talk, we do know what you need, we do know how to, if we can help you, we will, because I have been there and done it, you know.